Good morning, Heart of the City. I want to say thank you for joining us this morning. And I also want to encourage you to remember that when we worship, we are just joining in with what is already happening in heaven. So I want to encourage you to open your heart and get ready for whatever God has for you today.
Good morning, Heart of the City. Hope you all are doing well. Let's worship together. You were the Word at the beginning, one with God, the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. Your sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. Death could not hold you, the veil torn before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. And you have no rival, you have no equal, now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. God of creation,
creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars are made to worship, so will I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you're glad that you'll surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
Wow, that was so awesome. I love being part of such a creative church. And now we have a financial word from Executive Pastor Jesse.
Hello, Heart of the City. It's Jesse from the Elder Team. I want to take a quick second to share some really cool financial news with you. Over these last 2 to 3 weeks, we have not really seen a huge drop in our giving. Pretty amazing. Somehow, a lot of you are continuing to give faithfully to the ministry, and it's absolutely inspiring. Not only can we continue to pay our bills and do ministry, but we can support our 5 full-time staff members who can then in turn support their families, which is really one of the most important things that we're focused on right now is our people. So for all of you that have given over these last few weeks, we owe you a huge thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, we are so thankful that you've made this sacrifice, because without you guys, we could not get through this time. So thank you for doing that. I want to take this time to encourage you to continue to do so. So if you're a person who is enjoying a stable income, or somehow you have some money coming in, maybe you're one of those people that are starting to see your tax return come in, we would ask that you would prayerfully consider giving to the church and help us continue to do the awesome things that God's called us to do. I wish I could share more in detail, but just know that there are some really exciting things that we're looking into right now as a church. We intend to continue to grow and do our part in this city and answer the call of God that He's placed on this body of believers. So that's our promise to you, is as you give faithfully, we're going to continue to spend that money wisely and efficiently to continue the ministry. So please consider giving in this time if you're able to, and if it gives you joy. And I want to leave you with a quick verse about the church in Macedonia that Paul refers to in 2 Corinthians 8. I think it's very fitting for what I'm seeing right now in this church. It says this: "We want you to know, brothers, about the grace of God that has been given among the churches of Macedonia. For in a severe test of affliction, their abundance of joy and their extreme poverty have overflowed in a wealth of generosity on their part. For they gave according to their means, and as I can testify, and beyond their means, for their own free will, begging us earnestly for the favor of taking part in the relief of the saints." And I really think that fits with what I've seen from this body over the last few weeks. Even though we're in a really crazy time as a world, right? There's continuing to be generosity from this church, and it's really amazing to see. So thank you. Continue to do it as you're able to and as God gives you joy. And we will see you next time. Thank you, guys. Bye.
I hope that encouraged you. And now get ready for a word from Pastor Chris.
Good morning, Heart of the City. Hey, welcome to my living room. Wow, I never thought I'd have you all over at the same time. Sorry, I probably should have organized the books a little bit, but here we are. We're another week in quarantine, and my prayer is that this is the height of it. Who can tell? But we decided to do all of our broadcasts from individual homes this week to ensure that we are being the most courteous, loving people that we can. Again, please be as cognizant and helpful to the elderly as you can right now. They are the most vulnerable. And another thing that we have on our mind, we've sort of set our presence on, is all of the healthcare workers in the state, and especially at HOTC. We love you. You guys are on the front lines, and we just are so thankful for you guys risking your lives in a way, in a very real way, risking your health in order to help other people. And so let's get into the word today. I want to hit on this topic that I've been seeing everywhere. And I don't know if you've seen this or not. It's a hashtag. I've seen it projected on buildings, banners, all these kinds of things, and ticker tapes. And it's this hashtag, stay home. Stay home. And I'm like, that is a loaded statement. Because home, it made our handbook. Like, that's a big, big reality that we all face, is we all want this sense of home. And what we realize is that home isn't just a house. Because you can hear like stay home, and you could hear lock yourself in a box. You know what I mean? Like, or you could say, like, if you're told to stay home and you don't have a sense of home, it's almost like you're like, I have to sit in a house and be on restriction, right? So there's a big difference between being like housebound and staying home, right? And the craziest part is I think we're living in a time right now where the future of home and how we see it is being really almost redefined. It's being really challenged, right? And we're heading into this time as a society. We're all going like, what is it that establishes this sense of home for us? And how do we keep a sense of home? And, how do we think about this, gaining and keeping a sense of home? And especially as the world actually becomes more connected and we're doing much more online. Come on, you guys are in my living room right now and you're not, but you are, it's this crazy, people are working from wherever they want to these days, pretty much. We're thinking about home much more broadly. People are working in and living in multiple locations with no necessarily primary location, right? There are these surge cities now that are outside of actual cities where, a surge city is just a city that's sort of a suburb, where usually there would be sort of the center for ethnicity or a certain type of neighborhood. Now those things are becoming gentrified. Like, I went to Boston and I was like, I can't wait to go to Southie because all the Irish people are in Southie, and I'll meet some old Irish gangsters or whatever. And I get down there and I go, Charity and I go, and we meet one Irish guy, and we're like, hey, where's all the Irish people? There's no Irish people in there. It's a whole bunch of, career starters, yuppies, it's totally gentrified, totally different. So even in cities now, this whole sense of home and my people and all that kind of thing is actually being really challenged right now, right? And so we have this, general sense of mobility, this frequent traveling going on, right? It's actually cheaper to fly than it is to drive. We're not necessarily centered on work in an office. We've been working from home for the last week. We have all of these escapist activities, right? And so I just wanted to talk about, what does it look like to actually maintain, establish a sense of home. And so here's my best shot. Here's how I want to try to, especially in this moment where it's the sense of home is being challenged. Here's how I think you should think about, and especially, man, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like disconnected, if you're feeling like this quarantine thing has proven to make me actually take a hard look at the sense of home that I've created, or whether or not I can actually even stand being home, here's what I need you to hear. And I think this is a really kind of a profound thought, is home is a sense of home grows. I mean, if you think about it, the thing that used to make me feel at home was like a record player in an Eastridge condominium when I was a kid. That gave me this sense of home, or like, all of my little buddies that would ride BMX bikes and stuff. And those were my people. Right. And so you have this, and that's not true today. Like, I've been thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, man, I have this growing sense of home that sort of has shifted. And I didn't even meet Charity until, 25, 26 years ago. And she is my deepest sense of home now. So the sense of home grows, but I also feel like the sense of home. So if you don't have home right now, or you're not feeling, trust me, it's going to grow. You're going to be fine. But it grows. And it's also, here's the other thing. I think that it is a capacity. It's actually a capacity for significant relationships to actually become part of who you are. So it's like this growing capacity for you to bring into your life, to allow into your life these significant relationships that actually become, check this out, these significant relationships, whether it's friends or even coworkers or your wife or your husband, these significant relationships actually become sort of this almost living presence. Like, they go with you wherever you are. I know that there's people right now who feel like Heart of the City is home to them, and they're 5,000 miles away, whatever. Susan Egner, I know you're watching this right now, and you have a sense of home at Hotsy, and we have a sense of home in you. Tucker Tillman. There's so many people who have this. What they've done is they've said, you know what? I know that I have this growing capacity for significant relationships to kind of lend this living presence in my life, because these are my people. So this whole thing about a sense of home, especially in isolation, man, it is being challenged right now, big time. As we have to go into our houses, we're starting to take inventory, like, how lonely am I? Do I have like all of these significant relationships that give me this sort of living presence, like, oh man, my people got my back. I love these people. Like, I feel closer now. I long for them even more now than I ever have. We were talking in the members meeting last night, and it was like, yes, I would miss you. Stephen Hughes was on there. He's like, I miss you, and Ainsley did this thing this morning where she was just talking about, this is Hotsy. We're together, even though we're in our living rooms. And so we have this, a sense of home has this living presence of the people that we love and that love us, who are absolutely with us. And it's at the deepest place of who we are. And what that does for us, this is so exciting to me. What it does for us is it actually gives us an ongoing sense of identity. So we never really lose ourselves, right? But it has so much to do with who it is that loves you and who it is that you love. And so home isn't necessarily a place. Home is really, it's built by a sense of who you love and who loves you and how you live, right? It's not where you live, man. It's so much more about how you live and who you're living it with. And that, I think, is probably the deepest, that's one of the deepest senses of home. All my kids have been coming back from California, and they're just like, man, it was so good to come home. And it's not even Alaska. Alaska's pretty rad, especially in the summertime, but it's just so good to come and be like, connect back with people, like the people that love me and that give me that sense of who I am and, what I'm all about. And I don't feel lost in that. And this is an essential reality for every human being to develop and have, is to have that sense of home. And I just want to encourage you right now that grows. It grows, and it grows to the degree that you have the capacity to actually pull those people into your life, give them some license and some love into your life, and trust that they love you and that you love them. And that sense of community, that sense of home, it's even deeper than community. That sense of home will actually grow. So it's super important that we have that sense. Check this out. I want to show you, and here's what I want to do. I want to read you something, and you tell me how important it is to have a sense of home. and that your relationships are those things that give you that, right? Check this out. I was reading this. There's this article in the Atlantic from 2017, and it's about Japan, which sparked up a moment in me, because we have a heart for them, and Jesse's been pushing, let's do missions in Japan, and it says this, that Tokyo, and you guys know this already, Tokyo, that's a city, by the way, is jam-packed with 38 million people. Tokyo has 38 million people in it. And it says that even though it has 38 million people, it is one of the loneliest cities in the world. And as a result, because it is lonely, they've located it to loneliness. Because of it, suicide in Japan is at a crisis level. And Jesse and Dave Fidevsky and that crew brought back all of that information about the suicide forest, and that this is an epidemic over there in Japan. And they say the reason why is because almost a third of the population now lives by themselves, and they are dying. They are not only living alone, but they're actually dying alone. And what that has done is it has given rise to these, and get this, I'm not kidding you. Get this. This is how important a sense of home really is. It has given rise to these businesses where you can rent friends. I don't know if you've heard about this, but you can. So there's this one called Family Romance. There's a ton of them. It's this hugely successful company that rents out friends. They have 800 employees, and they are busy night and day. And you can rent a friend from these people to go to the movies, or you can rent an entire family to have like this Christmas dinner. You can rent a whole family. You could rent an entire birthday party. The lengths to which we will go in order to actually establish and to fill that void of what it means to have a sense of home and be around people it's crazy. Listen, you can rent a friend. So one of the most popular scenarios right now within this company is women who are hiring men, renting men as friends. And now they don't allow any sex or anything like that. So it's not, it's really not a prostitution ring or something. It's not at all. And so in this interview I was reading, it says they were interviewing one of these guys who is rented out to these women. And they'd say, hey, why do you think that these women hire you? And he goes, well, the women typically say that in a relationship, you're slowly building trust. Can I get an amen? I mean, he's just preaching now. He's just telling the truth, right? And then he goes on, it takes years to create a strong connection. Really? I mean, come on, right? I mean, that's what we were just talking about, a growing capacity. Okay. And then he keeps going. He says, for them, it's a lot of hassle and a lot of disappointment. Hey, welcome to relationships, right? Welcome to a sense of home. I mean, and he says, imagine investing 5 years with someone and then they break up with you. I'm like, welcome to having kids that go through adolescence, right? Like, are you kidding me, right? And then he goes on, it's just easier to schedule 2 hours per week to interact with an ideal boyfriend. There's no conflict. There's no jealousy, no bad habits. Everything is perfect. And I thought to myself, man, you're going to end up way worse than you started. That is a really, really hard way to go about establishing a sense of home. I mean, I cannot imagine that those people would feel less lonely for more than, I don't know, I mean, at the outside 3 or 4 days. And then they get to a point where they're like, I think I've just rented all my friends. I think this is, these people. Let me read another scenario to you. This is, I thought that this was pretty crazy. They asked him, hey, what's your favorite role? What's your favorite role? And he goes, because there's all kinds of these really strange roles that he plays. It goes beyond friendship. There was one, I'll just read this before we get to the favorite role one. He says there was this one case where a a grandfather was on his deathbed, and he wanted to meet his grandchild, and they knew that the grandchild would not be born in time. And so the granddaughter went and rented an infant for the day so that the grandpa could actually see the grandchild before he died. Wow. That is a crazy extent to which you will go to create some sort of sense of home. Here's another one. I thought this was really, really interesting. What's your favorite role? And he goes, it doesn't happen very often, but there are cases when I have to be a groom. A groom. There are situations where parents pressure a daughter to marry, like if she's a lesbian, for example. So they have an entire wedding, and it's a fake wedding, except for the client's family. The friends, everyone else, everybody else there is fake. My side is fake. Most of the other side is fake. Fake people all pretending that it's real. And the cost is about 2 million yen for everyone. I mean, I'm like, wow, man, the extent that we will go to in order to actually create a sense of home and have people around us that we need to approve of us and that give us a sense of identity. I mean, these people have gone to lengths that, I mean, first of all, they're completely unnecessary, but this just speaks to the fact that we all have that in each of us. And so this guy in the interviewer, he says this, is everybody replaceable? Is everybody replaceable? And he goes, I'm not sure, but I do know that we are offering a more perfect reality. We are offering a more ideal and more clean reality. And so I would just challenge that. If you would want to get yourself to that point, you're not actually creating a sense of home, right? How do we create a sense of home? Rent a friend, rent a family. And I just was thinking about that. I'm like, man, is this what church is? Is this what church is for some people? And maybe for some people it is. It's this idea of like, you're really not making connections, right? You really haven't bought into the whole thing, and you're not sure that these people, I mean, they say they love you and all that kind of stuff, but they're just, I mean, these are just placeholders, man. These people they're not really in it for me, and I'm not really in it for them. And I would just say, man, listen, slow down just a second. I think that that's what these guys have missed in this whole rental friend thing, is they have missed this idea that your sense of home in the middle of your emptiness, it is a growing capacity to the degree that you're going to let those essential relationships, those essential personal relationships become that living presence in your life that give you an ongoing sense of identity, and you just can't rent that. You can't just get that right away. That's a growing capacity. And the craziest part is that I was relating this to a passage that I've read to you guys before, and I feel like it's very important. It says this in Luke 11:24 through 26. It says this: when the unclean, this is a very, very sobering story that Jesus tells. When the unclean spirit has gone out of a person, it passes through waterless places, seeking rest, and it doesn't find anybody. It says, I'm going to return to my house from where I came. And when it comes, it finds the house swept and in order. And then it goes and it brings 7 other spirits more evil than itself. And they enter and they dwell there. And the last state of the person is worse than the first. And I think that this is the most profound, mind-blowing thing. If you liken this house that he's talking about, I'm going to go to my house. if you liken that to the human soul, this is a soul, this is a house that has been emptied, it has been cleaned. It is not a bad house, it is a beautiful house, it's a beautiful person, it's not an evil person. And I just want to say, I think that Jesus is getting at, is this what it feels like? This is what it feels like to be stuck in that empty space, right? With that sort of homeless heart, that homeless mindset, and I don't know where you're at today. Maybe you're in the military, maybe you're in school, maybe you're going through a divorce. I don't know what it might be, but unfortunately, this poor soul got even more empty, not less empty, right? This is a picture of a soul that's not like having a rager and having a great time. This is a picture of a soul that is actually splintered off because it has become so cluttered and divided, and it has just pursued all these endless little dead ends, 7 times worse than it ever had before, and it's never finding this sense of home that it's supposed to, right? I think this is a soul full of rental friends and a rental family, and it has no deep sense of home. And I just wanted to say this, that look, friends, family, people, they all create that sense of home, but that's not the only thing. That's a part, but it's not the only part, right? And I think we've all seen that's true. You can have people around you, or those people who there's people all around them that love them, and they're still very, very lonely. Because I think that a sense of home goes deeper. It just does. A sense of home goes deeper, and God wants to heal our homeless mind. He wants to heal our homeless hearts. He wants to meet us in this time of quarantine, right? And I was reading this study by this team of sociologists that was saying this, and these guys are not Christians, but they said something really profound. They said modern man, and that's where we're at, is modern man has suffered from a deepening condition of homelessness and no sense of home. And a number of factors contribute to this evolution of this condition, but the most weighty of which, in their view, is not the decline of personal relationships, but get this, the decline of religion. And the way that they say this is so profound. This is a sociologist saying this, because human beings have actually come to think of themselves as autonomous moral agents, right? They think that they are actually capable of raising and resolving for themselves all the questions about who they are and what they should do about it, and who God is and what they should do about it. And pretty quickly they realize that their autonomous solutions to retreat into this sort of godless individualism leaves them more discontented and lonely, and not more satisfied and fulfilled. And so to have this sense, this private sense of individualism, like, having a place where you can go and a private space where you can grow and you can work things out and reflect, that is essential to the human experience. We have to get alone. Jesus got alone. Yes, we should be quarantining ourselves and getting away. Jesus did this all the time. He went up on mountains and he was alone, right? He hid from people so that he could be alone, right? But when Jesus got alone, you have to understand that he was never by himself. He was always with another, God the Father. He always had a sense of home, which is why he even longed to be alone, so that he could connect with his Father. And so this idea, this sense of home, man, only God can really feel it. Only God can really fill it. And this sense of home is absolutely written into our design. We're never going to get away from it. And if it weren't truly written into our design, we wouldn't be tempted to go rent friends and family members, right? And so I think without God, with this compulsion to have a sense of home and not having God meeting us in there, being alone can turn us into the Unabomber pretty quick. And so I think this passage is a really timely sort of challenge and a warning, because the devil, man, he is so sneaky. And according to this text, the devil really wants one thing. It says that he is thirsty to make you his home. He is thirsty for him and all his friends and all of his bad ideas to start heading for home in your direction. And here you are, cleaning yourself up, you're getting yourself together, you're doing the right thing, and the devil wants nothing more than to destroy all of that. And so one of the biggest challenges I think that we're heading into as a society, and I think this is that Kairos, God-given moment, is for us to reestablish, to re-understand, to sort of keep and think about this idea of what it takes to actually meet that need of having a sense of home in each of our hearts. And only the living God can actually do that. Only Jesus himself, because listen, think about it. A sense of home grows. It's not static. It grows, and you know what I'm talking about. It grows. Not only does a sense of home grow, but it's a growing capacity. It's a growing capacity for a significant relationship to sort of settle in you as a living presence that goes with you wherever you go, and it continually reestablishes this ongoing sense of identity. And some of you need to do that with God even right now. You actually have to recognize, look, this is the relationship I'm looking for. This is the living presence that I'm looking for. This, no matter what, if people die, if people leave, if people change, if I'm in quarantine, I always have a sense of home in God. And some of you people, and I'll stop here. Some of us do this. We go, wait, how do you know I have a growing capacity for God? Like, how do you know that, like, I even have a capacity for God? Like, I don't have a capacity for God, and it hasn't grown at all. And I'll say, no. Everyone has a capacity for God. You have to hear that. Everyone has a capacity for the living presence of Jesus Christ to come into their life. Everybody has it. And here it's Bible. Look, Hebrews 3 says this, and I'll just read it. It says this. Hebrews 3, middle of verse 3, as much more glory as, look, the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself. Verse 4, for every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God, and we are his house. If indeed we hold fast to our confidence and our boasting in our hope. And this is what this is saying. This is saying that you are his house. You are the perfect shape, size, capacity for God. You have a capacity for him. You are his house. You are built by him. You are built for him. And so don't you think that it's time that he give you a sense of home? I mean, you are a house built for him, right? And so here's my recommendation for each and every single one of us, is to fill your house with confidence in God. Fill your house with hope in God. Fill your house with love for the most significant relationship, that living presence for God. And also, the second is just like it. Fill it with love for the people that you have. Fill it with peace and joy and forgiveness for the people that you have. And let this quarantine time reestablish and reset our sense of home, because we have gotten to a point now where we realize, man, if we're not connected to each other, we're not connected to God, man, this whole thing falls apart really fast. We're on our knees, Lord. We thank you that you have given us such a time as this, such a Kairos moment to reestablish, and even for some of us to establish that sense of home that only you can give. Because all of this is solved with a very simple acknowledgement that nobody owns me but God himself. He has built me. And in this sort of transient, empty moment in the world that is very confusing, and things are shifting and things are changing. I am not divided. I am not conflicted. I am not 7 times worse tomorrow than I ever have been, because one thing remains. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay home in Him, and I'm going to stay home with the people that I love. So hopefully that encourages you today. I just want to give you a benediction. It's not a sermon. It's not a prayer. It's just a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and cause you to see this ever-growing capacity for the living presence of God that gives you a continually beautiful identity in Him, connected to the people that He loves. Go in peace. Serve the Lord with joy. Thanks be to God. Amen.